welcome back, witch bitches, to Universe TV. If you don't know me, my name is Andy and this is my channel. So for today's episode of Universe TV, I'm going to do the part 2 of my CNA stories. It ended up being too long, so I had to break it up into 2 parts. So without further ado, here's CNA stories part 2. So this next one says, there's a CNA who works with me who is constantly being inappropriate with coworkers and patients. He is all the time talking about his sex life and other sexual things in front of patients and coworkers. He has even asked female patients what sexual things they did to their husband. What sexual things did their husbands do to them? He's very graphic when he talks to them. He said stuff in front of nurses and no one will say anything. He said things in front of my boss and nothing is said. I don't understand. I mean, isn't this a form of sexual or mental abuse or something? Why is nothing being done? We get in trouble when we tell on each other, and I know if I report him to my boss, they won't fire him and they will tell him who told on him, and it will make my work environment hell. I don't know what to do or how to get him to stop this behavior. I do not believe he has ever done anything to a patient or ever will, but the way he talks is nasty and bothers me. I also know if these patients were in their right mind, he would never say this. Is there someone in my facility I can report to and it remain anonymous? First off, if you fucking go to report something and your bosses tell the person that you reported on, fucking leave that job. Bye. Not okay. When you report something to a supervisor, it is supposed to be done in confidentiality. Like, it's just not okay. Like, they can't do it. Fucking leave. Quit. Bye. This dude just sounds fucking nasty. Just gross. When there is a lot of females around each other or whatever, then you're comfortable with the people, sex talks come up. But typically, like, when those happen, it's you talking to your coworkers about, like, and everybody's on the same page and there's no residents around, things like that. It happens. Like, we're all adults. It's not okay to be bringing up things like that, like extracurricular activities outside of work around residents like that. And if something like this happens, I think you would be able to report it to your ombudsman. They're kind of there for that purpose. Ombudsmans can also be used for residents reporting things anonymously and things like that. They're kind of there just to make sure that residents' safety and mental well-being is being taken care of. There's typically like a few assigned to your general area of the state that you live in. So yeah, you should be able to report something like that anonymously to an ombudsman. The fact that nobody seems to like tell this guy what for, huge red flag. Like I said, if you get in trouble for reporting someone, fucking leave. It's not worth it. That's just gonna lead to more problems later on and you're never gonna be valued as an employee. Okay, so this one says, tell me your worst / most disgusting CNA story. I got one for this. Okay, so this one says, mine is probably a tie-up between resident going down a hall smearing BM on the handrails, very sick resident having such bad diarrhea, it required a complete bed change, gown change, a pack of wipes, several washcloths and towels, and like an hour to clean. He was covered in BM when I went in and then proceeded to fill the toilet as well. Went to lunch after finishing with him and washing hands, of course. And then the next one says, resident was digging BM out of brief and had it caked on her nails and then fighting when I tried to clean her nails. I have no idea how I managed to not get any on me. I had a resident one time, he was a Hoyer lift, constantly shitting. We had changed his bed like 4 times that shift already. He was just a shitty fucking mess. He had nothing on because we had just cleaned him up and we were trying to get him into the shower chair to give him a bath. That's what this person should have done. Just if they're that covered in shit, just take him to the fucking shower. Just hose him down, clean him up like that. It's so much easier than fucking using wipes and washcloths and things like that. Like, obviously you're gonna use washcloths in the shower, but it's so much easier than going through like a whole entire, maybe even 2 packs of wipes. But yeah, so we got him up, we were putting him in the shower chair, and the second we got him in the air, he started shitting everywhere. And I am not kidding, everywhere. Like, he's in the middle of the air, spinning around in the Hoyer sling, and there's just poop flying. It's just flying. Like, you better fucking duck and cover, baby. That took quite a bit of time, obviously, to clean up. Yeah, we just took him to the shower and got him all hosed off and clean, and then he got back in bed. We did find out later that he had a stomach bug, something similar to C. diff, but it wasn't C. diff. I don't remember what it was now. It was wild. That was the most shit I've ever seen come out of a human being. And I've seen some pretty big shits, some pretty gnarly shits. The most disgusting and traumatizing thing to happen to me is when I was working in the Alzheimer's ward. I had a very confused patient who liked to walk around at night. On top of having Alzheimer's, he had a host of problems. One of them was that he was unable to urinate on his own, so he had a catheter. So this will happen often if people aren't able to empty their bladders completely. They'll put a catheter in because it's not good for you to not be able to empty your bladder completely, obviously. So being confused, he would often tug on it and it made sort of, well, loose down there. That also happens frequently in males who have catheters. You can see splits happening. This is very cringy. It looks awful. Like I don't have a penis, obviously, and I cringe at seeing that. Like it looks awful. I was working the night shift in the Alzheimer's ward and had several agitated patients that were awake and wandering due to a festival and fireworks that were going on outside. Unfortunately, my coworker and I were so busy that we weren't aware of said patient wandering in his room until we heard a loud scream. When I walked into his room, it was nothing short of a horror story. It literally looked like someone had been murdered. The patient had tugged on his catheter so hard he managed to pull the whole catheter, including the balloon, out. There were chunks of flesh on the floor and on the walls, literally everywhere, and he was bleeding. My friend called the nurse and called an ambulance while I tried to hold the towel there to stop the blood flow. Not an easy feat with the patient who was agitated. And they took him away. And then it says I stopped working there not too long after. I never heard what happened to him, but I will never forget the experience. I'm gonna let you know he probably died. There is, obviously they can stop the bleeding and it could heal, but that's pretty traumatic, especially in a male patient. It's not good in either patients. I have had female residents who like had a catheter though, and it just like slid right on out. Balloon completely intact, full fucking balloon inflated. If you don't know how catheters work when they put them in, so they put the tube up the urethra and then they fill it with like saline solution. They fill a balloon that'll blow up to like this big so it can't come out and it just sits in your bladder. I had a resident do this exact thing. It was a murder scene. This guy was the sweetest man. I think he'd been on hospice for quite a while. He started to decline more rapidly. He had a catheter the whole time. He must have had a moment of clarity, I guess. I don't know exactly what happened because I wasn't in the room when this specific thing happened. But he got up. He used to walk independently, like a week prior to that. And he got up and went to go walk to the bathroom, and he did not grab his catheter bag with him, and it ripped the catheter out. Full balloon, everything. That is the most blood I have ever seen while working as an aide. It was so bad, and it breaks my heart to think about this still. Like it was so bad, and he ended up passing away like 3 days later in the hospital. At that time, I was more of like a lead CNA, so my nurse like literally radioed for me specifically to come in there because she's like, I don't know what to do right now. And so I was the one in there like trying to figure shit out and help her and get things, you know, obviously he had to get sent out, but like it was so much blood. Like literally his entire floor was just covered in blood, and it was bad. It was so bad. So would you tell your supervisor if you see your patient masturbating in his bed? So second month as a CNA here, and everything was great so far. A couple of days ago, this young man had some health issues, walked into his room at night, and he was playing with himself, and he stopped right away. An hour after that, he asked me to get a different gown. It was wet. He literally jerked off. What would you do in a situation like that? Would you tell your superior and others? I just laughed and helped him clean himself and got a new gown for him. There's no really need to, I mean, you could let your nurse know that it happened, I guess, but it's not really a behavior issue, especially it says that he's a younger guy. He got needs. Everybody's got needs. That's part of being human. Sexual health is very real. He wasn't inappropriate. He stopped when you walked into the room. Just let the guy do his thing. So I believe that this is the last one, and it says tips for battling compassion fatigue. Okay, it says, I feel bad for feeling compassion fatigue so soon as a CNA. I've only been one for for a year. But I already can feel myself getting less sympathetic with patients as time goes on, especially in our floor. Lately, we've had an influx of very rude and entitled patients, and it's taking its toll on me. I know it's not the nice patient's fault, but I just feel so burnt out. I'm a healthcare worker. I'm not supposed to be feeling this way. I feel like a failure of a CNA for feeling this way. Burnout is a very real thing. It is super easy to get burnt out super fast. That is why it is so important to take your breaks, to take your days off, and to do some self-care. Our mental health is our first front of healthcare. How we feel directly affects our care for our patients and residents. Don't feel bad if you come into this situation. It happens. Healthcare is super demanding, both mentally and physically. It's part of being human. It is how our bodies just adjust to things. You get tired, you get mentally exhausted. I will say that as the years go on working in healthcare, I don't want to say this is for everybody, but I definitely feel like that my sympathy level has decreased some. But I think that more so has to do with the fact that I'm more educated in what certain things are. Like for instance, my grandma a couple of years ago had an incident where she had to be in the hospital. She was showing dementia-like symptoms, and it actually ended up being, there's a term for it, but it actually ended up being from an unbalanced med in her system. I do believe she had a stroke at that time too, if I remember right. And I remember, sorry Louie, you're gonna see this. I remember my cousin texted me and said something about, are you coming home to see grandma? My mom was a nurse also. She was updating me on my grandma the whole time. I was not able to come home at the time because I was working a lot, like 65 hours a week a lot. So I knew that if it was serious enough, my mom would have let me know immediately and I would have been there in a heartbeat. But because of the fact that I deal with stroke patients on a regular basis and watch them bounce back in sometimes even just a few days' time, I wasn't too concerned with it because of the fact that I am educated enough in that field to recognize how serious something can be and to trust my mother, who is a nurse, for recognizing that as well. Like, she would have let me know if I needed to fucking come home. I did end up coming home, like, it was just a month later, and she was still in the hospital at the time, not like super sick or anything. She was just recovering. She was like in like the rehab part. Have definitely lost some sympathy just because of the fact that I've worked in healthcare for so long. I'm insanely desensitized to death because I have seen so many people die, especially this past year with the pandemic. You kind of have to build some semblance of separation from your feelings and from the patient, like the situation that you're dealing with. There are plenty of resources that you can access to help your mental well-being, whether if you just need to vent or if you need some advice on how to approach a situation. I will do some research and link some of those resources down below for you if it's something that you are wanting to look into, if you're feeling burnt out for yourself. Remember to always take care of yourself first and foremost. If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. Okay, so that was CNA Stories Part 2. If you like that, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and share this video with your friends and family. Also, don't forget to follow my other social medias, namely Instagram. Here somewhere down at the bottom is my user. I have two, one for the YouTube channel, one my personal one. Also, don't forget to check out builtbar.com and use my discount code down here, discount code UNA10 to get you 10% off of your order. Right now, cookie dough is back in stock for a limited time only, so go jump on that. Chocolate or cookie dough chunk is what it is, and they're so good. So don't forget to go check that out. If you like me and you like what you see, we'll see you next time. Bye.